All right, I got the front end off of this, the hood and the grill, and this is what I'm looking at. First of all, I got a fuel leak off of the shutoff valve. It looks like it's where it's leaking. All right, and let me show you the frame. Here's where I notched it. And as you can see, I just don't like doing that. And around here, you can see a nice healthy new crack right there all the way around. They've put in the angle iron for the crack at the back, and so I'm just hoping that what I'm thinking is that using this plow puts that pressure on it, is doing that. Plus I run a pretty heavy weight on the front, so the new frame may crack. I don't know. I got the exhaust off and it opened up quite a bit of room. Before, that exhaust pipe was right up against, let me get around here where you can see, right up against that. And I'm just going to come out and down. I'm going to move this back forward, but I may have to notch around the solenoid. I don't know exactly how I want to do that. I think this is the original one off this tractor. I've got another one that was off the parts tractor. And the only thing wrong with this, what I call the firewall, is right here. And so I may reuse that and just let it be, or I've got another firewall and I'll switch out my numbers. All right, here's where I am right now. I took the old battery tray out, and this was the factory. I did like on the other 14.6, I took 1 3/4 inches out of the middle of it and then re-welded it back together. And then I'll take the dash and mount it right here. That gives me perfect clearance. And as I said, I'm going to reroute the muffler, and that'll make it easier to get that battery in and out and just make it better all the way around. So I wanted to get everything fitted in before I pull the engine. Like I said, I'm going to pressure wash this engine. I'm going to clean it up good and check that starter and flywheel. I'll tell you what, I'm thinking about taking at least this pull handle off. It's gotten in the way. This diesel engine has so much compression. You're going to have to be a whole lot more man than I am to start this thing with that pull. I just playing around with it the other day and tried to, and that about jerk your arm off. It's a stout engine. So that's kind of a joke, if you ask me. So I'm going to pull that. I'd really like to get rid of the whole cover and be able to put something else over it. But I think what I'm going to do is pull it out and tie a knot in it and let it just go back down in there. That'll get this out of the way. As far as my leak goes, I turned the fuel off and it's quit dripping. It was a real slow leak. You can see on the front of the engine there. And so I may pull that apart and see if there's an O-ring in there that I can replace or something. I've got I like the way they did the fuel gauge. I'm about right there on my fuel, so I've got an almost full tank of fuel. So that's going to make it challenging to get that off without getting diesel everywhere. So just getting everything fitted together before I pull the engine. And then once I get the engine off of there, I'm going to go through some stuff and pull that front clip and then match up my holes the best I can to the new frame. I'm going to go ahead and sand down and paint that rear fender unit. I'm going to paint the battery tray. I'm going to pull my running boards off and paint all that at one time. I've got to undo my steering, so I'm not going to pull that steering wheel off. Anybody knows Sears knows how hard that is, and I don't want to mess that steering wheel up. And I'm not even probably going to paint the dash, but I do want to kind of, when I take it loose, pick the dash up away from the frame so I can paint the frame a little better than just masking around the dash. And so, all right, I'll do more in a little bit. All right, here's what I've got. Let me turn some lights on here. All right, I got the fuel leak stopped, I think. On this shutoff valve, there's a rubber hose that runs across here, and it had a small split in it. I don't know if it was leaking from there or not. Didn't really look like it was, but I went ahead and replaced it. And I took these two nuts off and dropped this body down, and inside the tank is a filter. And it's got a rubber gasket on the bottom of it, so I had to pull it up to get it to clear this, to get it out. And there's a rubber gasket here, one on the inside, and then an O-ring inside of this. Really all I had to do, well, to replace this, I had to take it off. There's no way you can get that short a hose on and off. But where I really think the leak was coming from was in here. These two screws, and this slides out, and there's an O-ring in there, and I think that's where it was leaking. I could see the diesel pooling just a little bit and dripping from here. And so I put a new O-ring in. I had to go to a third try. I finally found an O-ring I think fit. And I'm hoping I'm going to let it sit overnight and see. If it still wants to drip, I think what I'm going to do is, before I shut it off and it quit dripping, which told me that it's that O-ring too. When it shut off, the fuel don't make it down to the O-ring. So if it still leaks, I'm just going to shut the fuel off when I'm not using it and just let it go. So what I've got to do next is I'm going to go ahead and pull this engine off and then start stripping down some stuff here and then move to the next step. I've got the battery tray sanded down and primed. And over here I'm working on the fender pan, and there is a lot of pitting on this. And it's really too much for me to do that much Bondo or whatever else. And like I said, it's going to be a work tractor. So I got some fillable primer. And I know it's not going to get all of it, but I'm going to spray 2 or 3 coats on there, and in between coats sand it down and hopefully fill in some of it. Right here is 2 spots that are real bad. I may try to fill those. And inside of here, which under the seat won't be seen, is bad. The rest of it, I think 2 or 3 coats of this primer is going to fill it, and you'll never notice it. Next thing is my firewall. I called it a grill earlier, and I had to notch it like I did on the 14.6. I had to repair some cracks in it on the bolt holes, which is common. And so this will slide right down over the battery tray, and it will line up perfect. I test fit it. It will line up perfect right through here and not even really be up against that. So as far as fitting, everything's fit in the way I want it. Now it's just a matter of stripping it down. I'm going to take the steering wheel, the knuckle loose down there, and unbolt the dash and set it off. Take all the old wiring out. None of that's being used. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to redo this steering box because I did that on that other 14.6, and it made it steer so much easier. This one's not bad. And then put all that, I've got to take it loose anyway to switch that frame out. I've got to work to get these running boards off. I'm going to sand them down and paint it and the fender pan all at the same time. And then paint the back part of the frame as much as I can get to. And then it's, I think, about the point of start reassembly. I don't know if I'm going to paint this dash. Probably. Yeah, I probably will. Tape up the decals. You know, I hate to do it that way, but it's going to be the easiest. And I'm going to paint the grill and just start reassembling everything. All right, I'm going to stop this video here. I'll give you a further update as we go. All right, I got the running boards off. The what I call the fender pan. I got it off. It's pretty crusty under there, but seems fairly solid. I got the running boards, one of them down to bare metal. The top side I've got to do underneath it, and I've got to do the other one. There are at least 2 layers of paint there. You can see the original color of the tractor. It's the darker yellow, and then someone painted it this yellow. And as far as the condition, there's a little bit of surface rust, nothing serious. On my, just an update on my fuel leak, it is fixed. It sat here overnight and not a drop anywhere. So I'm happy about that. It was making a mess out of everything. I got the exhaust, the muffler cut from the exhaust right here, and then I'll work on elbowing that and getting that rerouted. I got the fender pan, working on it. I did go back and put some JB Weld in some of this. Seems to help, and it was quite rusty. I'm gonna put one more coat of this filler primer in it, and then I'm gonna sand it down again and put the rust converter primer because it was so rusty. Then I got to do underneath it, which surprisingly isn't near as bad as the top side of. Well, I guess it didn't get as much weather, but I'm gonna undercoat it. Let's see. I think that's all the progress I've got for today, and the next step, I guess, is to pull that engine off and start pulling the front part of the frame. All right, here's the front clip. Got it separated from the tractor, and it's pretty oily. Where that diesel was leaking, it made a mess on everything. I've got to take all the steering linkage and everything out from under it. And I've got this, the bolt came loose, I guess, and wallered that out. So we'll take care of that when I switch it over. And here's the back half. No surprises really. Get this cleaned up, sanded down, and painted. I'm gonna switch those back tires off. And I guess we're about to the point after we start painting everything and then start reassembly. I've got the rear fender pan. It's turning out really nice. I think I'm gonna scuff that down and paint it. The front clip, as you know, is already ready. Got to sand the hood down and paint it. The battery tray was yellow. I'm gonna paint it back black, and as well as the grill, of course. And this piece here, firewall. In the 14.6 it was yellow, the GT14 it was black. I'm gonna go with black because the diesel engine's black. And then the rest of the tractor will be yellow. And I may do some more video once I progress a little further with it.